Praise Mix Down, where we keep God first in the mix. This right here is the Takeover Show. But this is actually different. I've never done this before. Never done a long-form interview. People have been asking me to do this. I think it's a dangerous thing a little bit because, I'm not predictable at all. And I said, hey, if I do one of these, who better to do it with than, for the first time, my brother, Neiko.
What's up, sir?
In the building. Can I say the last name? Are we saying the last name?
Yeah,
Okay,
I wrote a whole book is on there.
Neiko Flowers. All right, because we have rules in radio. The names are changed to protect the innocent.
Yes.
But for the first time, you went by the full name. You went by the government.
Went by the whole government.
Went by the whole government.
Man. Yeah.
My hurt, your heal.
Yes, sir.
There's so much to unpack about this book. But before we even get started, can you sign it for me?
Yes, sir.
Can you sign it?
See this
Like
is
that's like that's
this
like
is a
fan
first.
footage.
I don't think I ever signed anything on camera before.
and I'm not going to tell you what to write, but just be creative.
Oh, you already know what I'm starting it off with.
Yeah, oops.
You already know.
To all the wrestling fans, you got to know what that means.
Yes,
but
sir.
if you're not a wrestling fan, don't worry about that. But yeah, man, sign it. I was gonna ask you to sign it in real time. But we're gonna take our time today.
Okay.
All right. So if you're watching this, I just want you to get comfortable, okay? Because your boy's gonna take his time today.
Let's do it.
I appreciate it. Okay,
Yes,
so I just want to speak something over your life.
Okay, let's do it.
I definitely think that you are a New York Times bestseller.
Wow.
All right.
Thank you.
And I told my wife, I was like, I texted her and I was like, yo, I'm about to interview best-selling author Neiko.
Oh man. Yeah.
Okay. How's
thank you.
that feel?
That feels amazing, especially from you, because I know you don't say that about everybody.
At all. That part.
You don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best-selling author. Is that something that you could get used to hearing?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Writing was actually pretty dope. I enjoyed the process, and I didn't think I was, because I'm not. To be honest with y'all, I'm not a big reader, but I like my books to be quick reads, something that I can get to and come back to. So I was like, oh, I could do this. And now that I did it, I'm like, everybody, it's like having a child. Everybody be like, so when are you going to have another one? I'm like, I just wrote this one, guys.
So I'm going to make you laugh.
Okay.
I was surprised how well written this was.
Shout out my wife for editing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, because.
Okay, yeah. No. Like, when I tell you this is well written, this is well written. So let me just walk you through the process.
Yeah.
I know I was interviewing you today, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, be disrespectful and just ask you questions and not, dive into the book. So I'm reading the book out loud at the house, and I'm reading it to my wife.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So she's in the room. And we're in chapter 1, we're in chapter 2, and we're just going in.
Yeah.
And I start reading in my head.
Yeah.
And then she was like, "You stopped. What happens? What happened next?" Yeah. So I'm just like, and Neiko, I'm not trying to blow your head up before this interview even really gets into it. But bro, this could be a movie. You know that, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
A very delicately put together movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things in there that a lot of people go through that I think people can relate to. So, yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Explain the title. My hurt, your heal. The greater the obstacle, the greater the glory.
Yes, sir. The title came last. I had no idea what I was going to call this thing. I just started writing one day, and it was like, I literally felt that title. I had no other options for title. I didn't have anything that I was thinking about, nothing like that. I was literally riding down the street, and I felt my hurt, your heal. And when I thought about it, I was like, that's perfect. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of the book, is to take the hurt that people are going to and get them to the healing. And that's what I was in the moment going through. So I was like, it's perfect. It just lines up. And everybody says the title alone, Neiko, the amount of people who have reached out to me before they even got the book was like, the title alone got me. The greater the obstacle, the greater the glory.
Yeah, no, it was really, really cool. Because yesterday, I'm live in the Mix of 6, shameless plug.
Yes, sir.
Right? And, I was like, yo, Neiko got a book. And I was like, put it in the chat, right? And then I put it in the chat and I pinned it.
Yeah.
And then I saw Lunika was like, yo, I got that book. And I really, like, now that I've read most of it. I'm not
Yeah.
done, but I'm like, a lot of people need to read this book because the way that you're explaining the process
Yeah.
of, should I sweep it under the
Yeah,
rug? Should
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
address
Yeah.
it? All these different things. Let's talk about the role that faith played
Mm.
in this whole situation. Because,
Yeah.
you shout out your church. You gave a big shout out to your church. You even gave the address. I was like, who does that?
I gave the address because my church is and was still a very important process to my upbringing. You know what I mean? I grew
Okay.
up in a missionary Baptist church, and I wanted to make that clear that that is where my faith began. I grew up in a church where my grandparents helped build the church,
Mm.
and my mom and her sisters and my uncle went to the church, and then we came behind as a next generation. And so all of my church members are family, like they're cousins, they're extended cousins. And I wanted to make sure that was important. And so my faith started there. So without a New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, it would be no me as who I am. And that's where it started, man. Like, faith is everything. I wouldn't have gotten through any of this without it. So,
A lot of people always say, I just felt like it was time to tell my story, right?
yeah.
What made you say that? Like, hey, it's time now in 2025 at this big
Yeah,
age.
Big age.
What made you want to do it now?
This is such a cliche thing to say, but I truly believe it was God. Like, I felt like I wanted to live as my authentic self. And God was like, in order for you to evolve, you need to reveal. And I said, okay, how much are we talking, God? Like, how much
Right.
revealing
Yeah,
are we
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
talking about here? And he was like, no, in order for me to propel you, I got to show you the full hand of myself. And so
Sheesh.
I need you to really put yourself out there, because there's people who are waiting on this book. There are people who need to know the things that you've been through. So when they hear it or when they read it, they can be like, oh man, me too. Okay, he overcame it. I could do it too. So I was like, I had to like really take my hands off of it. And when I was writing it, I was like, do I want to keep this in there?
Bruh.
Do I want to take this part out?
Bruh.
I had multiple edits. I'm going to be honest.
No. I get it.
Yeah.
But total transparency,
Yeah.
as somebody that I consider a friend,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know him. Like, I really felt that way. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like,
Yo.
I thought I knew him.
Yeah.
But I don't know him.
Yeah.
And shout outs to the childhood pictures in there.
Yeah, the childhood
I was
pictures.
like,
Nice
oh
touch.
my God. Yeah. And
It's me.
one time for the 90s box cut.
Oh man, I mean, bring that back.
Like the Kid and Play box cut was real.
Yeah.
But I just really want people to get this book, not necessarily because they've been through what you went through, but because we've all been through something.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And even today, I can honestly say that, reading your book, it sparked conversations like with my other friends. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you guys are going through anything.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to know you can talk to me. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting people on a conference call today.
Yes.
I'm
yes,
like, yo, LP,
yes.
you there? Yeah.
Yeah,
Cletus,
yeah,
you there?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, if y'all going through anything,
Yeah.
suicidal thoughts, anything, like,
But that's how it should be, right?
Talk.
That's,
Yeah,
but that's
but-
how it should be. And I think this book is another reminder that's another reason why I did the book, because I wanted men to be comfortable with putting their stuff out there. Like, we walk around here, we put on this mask, some of us, and we pretend that everything is okay, that we never lived through anything. But the reality is we have, man. And the only way that you can live in freedom is that you put all your stuff out there and say, hey, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I overcame, and this is how it can help you.
okay. So I don't want to do any spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Because we want you to go get the book,
Yeah.
My Hurt, Your Heal,
Yeah,
available right now on Amazon. And it might be early in the interview for this, but let's talk about Carl.
Wow. I've never talked about this publicly. That is crazy. I didn't expect for you to ask that question. So, yeah, I've been through a lot, and my best friend, the guy that I grew up with, we stayed a house apart growing up. His parents became my aunt and uncle. His brother became my little brother.
He was the reason you moved to Charlotte.
He was the reason I moved to Charlotte. He had lived in Charlotte, and I was in this place in my hometown of Wilmington, and I was stuck. I always knew God had bigger plans for me. I always knew that. And I was afraid, to be honest with you. I was afraid to kind of take that leap of faith.
Mhm.
And I remember the conversation we had clearly as day. He was like, hey, man, listen, you got to get out and move. Like, you got to get out here. Like, Charlotte would be great for you. I can see you thriving and flourishing. And so I took his advice, faith moved to Charlotte. That's where everything happened for me. You know, that was where my career started. That's where I was married. That's where my kids were born. That's where I grew up as a man. And, you know, early into that, you know, I was literally there for 2 months. And the same person that sent me there was killed in the drive-by.
Yeah.
So that was the first time that I dealt with death personally, like close. You know, I had grandparents that died and stuff like that, but I wasn't alive for that at the time. And that was the first time that I dealt with that. That was a very, very difficult thing to go through.
It was difficult to read, bro.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I forget sometimes how much other stuff I was going through. Like my childhood stuff, I was still battling that.
Yeah.
So if you take your best friend being murdered in broad daylight in a drive-by,
Yeah.
that is the least thing I was ever expecting to get a phone call about. You know what I mean? Like literally 2 months. And I had to think that I consider him my guardian angel because he sent me there. Had I not been in Charlotte, I might have been walking with him coming from the barbershop that day.
That's true.
So I always look back at that and say, man, God had a plan for me, man. And I always look back at that. Even when I have moments of like, God, I don't know if I should be doing this anymore, or I have self-doubts, I always remember that I'm doing it for somebody who's no longer here. You know, so that was a tough situation. I can still remember what I was wearing that day in 2006, where I was coming from, who I was with, and when I got the phone call. To this day, it's crazy.
I just like I said, you know, reading, first of all, it's a great read. If you're a fast reader, it's a quick read. But I think my biggest takeaway was you have no idea how your story can inspire other people. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of like, I'm going to say this publicly. I want you to hold me accountable to write a book as well.
Amen. Got you.
And I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be completely transparent because I know I'm going to have to take trips down memory lane that I may not want to necessarily take.
Yeah.
But I just really, really feel like I'm like, yo, thank God for Neiko for writing this book to remind us how powerful your story is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's dangerous to only see people one way.
It is. But you said something that I think was so good, and I literally told myself this the other day. I said, people who have not read the book don't know me. They don't know the true me.
No.
Which is crazy to think about. Because
no, it's not.
Well,
it's not because people listen. We're here now. We're turning the corner. Everybody just buckle up. I just feel like you meet people's avatar. You meet who people want you to know, but you don't necessarily meet the real rubber and the road and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like if you meet me, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's Dwight Stone and blah, 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 blah. But then you meet my parents and you'll be like, oh, that's where the accent come from. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's where the accent come from, you know? And then, so so I just think that, you know, we have a responsibility while we're on this side of heaven.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To let them know. And then we get to the forward, right, of the book and the dedication. You dedicated the book to your kids.
Yeah.
They're going to read this.
Yeah. They're going to read it.
And when they're mature enough to know what happened in your childhood, that's a lot.
Yeah. And that was something that, you know, I was recently asked, what was one of the reasons why you chose to write the book, you know, outside of God told me to do it. But it's because I wasn't my full self. And I wanted my kids to have me as me, like fully. I didn't want to hide anything. I was like, I'm going to be this person. Y'all are going to know what I've been through. Y'all are going to know what I overcame because I don't want you guys going through it too. That was the most freeing thing, telling my wife and my children what happened, because it just put this whole thing into perspective. Like, man, like I'm literally out here naked. Like I'm literally out here living in my freedom. I'm like,
So let me ask you this,
yeah,
Oos.
yeah,
I know you got permission from God
yeah.
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the discussion with your wife? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about writing something that's going to, did you guys have the conversation?
No. I started writing after my therapist. If you get the book, you'll see a letter in there. I don't know if you've gotten to that part yet.
I did see the letter.
The letter's in there, and after I wrote the letter, it kind of made me want to go down the road to write
Did your
the book.
therapist ask you to write the letter?
Yes.
That's good.
He asked me to write the letter.
I wanted to know whose idea this was
his.
because I've never seen anybody do that.
Yeah.
It was like, dear so and so.
Yeah.
Well, dear blank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you went into detail.
Yeah.
And that was something that really had my wife's attention this morning when I read it, because I was like, yo, he wrote this letter to his abuser.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it showed the power of forgiveness too, bro. Forgiveness is not for them, it's for you.
Yeah, and you've read the book. Like, there's some things that I say in there that I told some family members. I was like, hey, there's some things in this book that y'all are gonna read that where I was mentally in that time.
Hold on, wait.
Yeah.
So you're saying the family doesn't know? Well, when the family reads this,
Yeah. When the family reads it,
they're gonna know.
I had very private conversations with people who were very, very, very close. Very close. Like my favorite cousin, my siblings, parents. That was it. About the details of everything. But there were a lot of family members 2 days after it came out who had gotten the book and who had reached out to me privately and said, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, what else are they gonna say?
Yeah, because, I thought that, to be honest with you, I think one of the things that scared me, to be honest with you, was the fact that I didn't know how my family was going to react. Because I didn't want people to pick sides. Sometimes you may not believe a person, but
I'm surprised they didn't do the total opposite and say, that never happened.
Right.
You made that up.
But surprisingly enough.
You just trying to sell books.
Exactly. Surprisingly enough, I didn't get that. And that was very comforting to me. Like, at least 8 to 10 family members reached out to me and were like, bro, like, what you just did, you just broke our whole family generation. Like, you just broke a whole curse.
So you broke a generational curse.
Broke a whole generational curse. Because I believe you. And this makes so much more sense. And just know that you're not alone. Wow. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So here's the thing. Again, I believe that this was not just a journey.
Mm-hmm.
This was not just an assignment. I believe this is a call, because I think that there's so many people that are not living their truth because of unaddressed pain that they've been carrying for so long. And to quote Sister Erykah Badu, bag lady, you gonna miss your bus.
You gonna miss your bus. Yeah, and I feel like I tell people all the time.
You gonna miss your bus.
I tell people all the time right now. I said, I thought I knew what God had planned for me until I wrote this book. And I realized writing the book that God was like, okay, you love music. You love talking to people. Radio makes sense. You know what I mean? I realized by writing the book, I said, wow, God put me in this industry. I'm thinking it's because I love music and I love speaking with people. God is like, I'm giving you a platform.
Yeah, but bro, do you understand how many people in the industry this has happened to?
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you it's happened.
But they don't talk about it.
And it's a taboo conversation
It's
in the
a very
church.
taboo conversation.
And it happens. It explains a lot.
It explains a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
And so I
hint,
felt
hint.
like, yeah.
Pick up what we're putting down.
Yeah.
It explains a lot.
It explains a lot. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do it. I knew this was a calling. I said, wow, God, you gave me all of this and you put me on this platform because you wanted me to be the person that spoke to the people who were too afraid to do it.
Do you feel lighter?
Oh, bro, I'm so light. I'm so light. I am walking in freedom. Like I'm in the best place. This is the best version of myself. And I think this is why it's so important. I want other people to feel how I feel. Like I've never felt better.
I think, okay, but let's just credit your friends. I think you're surrounded by people who love you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if you weren't, this probably wouldn't feel like that.
Yeah. I got a friend that that recently him and I had a conversation, and in that conversation, he literally says, "Man, I was too afraid to tell you something, and I felt
Amen.
like I didn't know how you were gonna take it, and then they just told me, and I was like, well, number one,
Wow.
I would have never judged you, but thank you." And they were like, "You got me to this point where I could share this." They asked their wife, uh, you know, "Do you think I should share it?" And they said yes, but they were too afraid to do it. And once they read the book, they literally a couple days after getting the book, they said, "Okay, let's have the conversation." And
So
I was like,
transparency is contagious.
it's contagious. But that's the beautiful part, man. Like, again, I want everybody to feel this. I want everybody to be walking around light, walking in their freedom, you
So
know?
that's taboo too, because we're
Yeah,
talking about strength and vulnerability.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that's not something that was taught, especially not in our community.
No, no, no,
So,
no. Yeah.
okay, so how would you encourage people to have the conversation? Because the
Mm.
same way you kept a secret for years,
Mm-hmm.
there's other people that have kept secrets for years,
Mm-hmm.
and they could actually do it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're in a position to tell people the right and the wrong way to do it?
I feel like I won't say I feel like I'm in the position. I'm in a position to help guide. Like I can kind of give you
Because
some
you
options.
do
Yeah.
have some steps in the
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
end of the
I
book.
get some ways that you can guide towards that because everybody's journey is different, right? So everybody's gonna do it differently. For me, I started off my therapist. We had years of counseling. You know what I mean?
How
Years.
many years?
Three.
Wow.
Three with this individual therapist who's amazing, and I shout him out in the thank yous of the book as well. I was very transparent, and I even went back and forth to should I tell him, but he
So
kept
wait, so
digging.
you were going to therapy and just dancing around the issue?
Bro, yeah, because I was still like, I know the therapist wasn't gonna join me, but it was almost like once I let this out, it's out.
So wait, let's talk about that,
Yeah.
Neiko. So that means that how you choose a therapist is very important.
Very important.
Because if you choose a therapist that you don't feel comfortable being totally transparent with, you're just having a conversation.
Absolutely. I chose a black male on purpose.
Okay.
On purpose. And I looked for my therapist for weeks, if not months. You know what I mean? And I actually switched a therapist, because I had a black female who was great, but I was like, I knew that I was getting close to at some point going down that road.
So how long were you seeing that other therapist before?
2 years. Yeah.
So 2 years with her and then
And
3 years with him.
Yep. So
So
5 years.
this has been a 5-year journey. Okay. So I just want to, make this a public service announcement.
Yeah.
Ask your employer if your insurance covers it. Because with
yeah.
a lot of businesses, your health insurance will cover your therapy costs.
And
Yeah.
EAP. You can do EAP. And a lot of people don't know that. That's another thing too.
No, that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. And, EAP is a thing, where a lot of times they'll give you a certain amount of sessions for free.
Mm.
And before I had my therapist that I had now, I was like, oh, I'm gonna use my EAP benefits. You know what I'm saying? And then use that. So that's a great benefit for people as well, too, that they don't know about.
So that's why I'm actually wearing the hoodie.
God in therapy, yes, sir.
God in therapy. I wanted to wear that in honor of this interview. But the reason why I wanted to wear it was because I just want to impress upon whoever's watching this that you need both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. I'm not saying that
Yeah,
God
that's good.
can't fix
Yeah,
all of your problems. He absolutely can.
yeah,
But the people that are available at your church
yeah,
may not be ready to handle or address properly
absolutely.
the things that a licensed therapist can address because the profession is just different.
It's different.
You have people who mean well, and
Yeah.
then you have people that do this professionally.
Absolutely.
It is not the same.
It's not. It's not.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I don't want to
Yeah.
offend the church. Don't at me, don't DM me, but I'm just telling you, there's a difference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You don't when you have a toothache, you don't go to somebody who means well. You go to a dentist.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
you need both. You said it right.
You need both.
But
okay?
we grew up in a time where I don't know, as far as for me, and I talked about it in the book, we was told just to pray about it. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And that's another thing that I'm so happy this book is showing, because my family is now they're taking the advice of the book and like, well, maybe I need to go get a therapist.
Yes,
like, you know what?
do.
I got
You
issues
do.
too. And that's the crazy part, because we all get issues. And that's when I realized, man, I'm not about to walk around here ashamed anymore or afraid or feeling some type of way that people are going to feel, whatever like that. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like I use this as an example in the movie 8 Mile with Eminem. I don't know if you guys remember the part where he was battle rapping the other guy. And instead of, him battling or talking about
he
the guy
admitted it.
He admitted it and start talking about himself. So that way, when the other guy had the opportunity to battle rap him back, he had nothing to come at him about. Because he was like, instead of you trying to put my business, I'm gonna tell you what I've been through. Yeah, I grew up in a trailer park. Yeah, I did all these things. Okay, all right, next. That's who I am.
What else you got?
What else you got? Because I done put it out there.
And honestly, that's the way that you deal with a bully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how you defuse a bully.
Yeah,
Anybody getting bullied right now, like the way you do it is you don't run from your issue.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. Yeah.
So, as we put a bow on this, Neiko, man, I just, again, I definitely want to thank you for doing this. Didn't know what I was getting into when I was reading it, it definitely feels like a roller coaster. It's like, oh, we're in it now.
We're in it
now.
But the great thing about it is you see all sides of how I was and where I am now. And I think where I am now is such a beautiful place. And I think, you were one of the first people that actually knew about something in the book.
You told me. So,
I took him out to lunch.
So let me give you the Eat Your Hollywood story. He was like, "You didn't take me out to lunch, did you?"
We all went out to lunch.
Well, you didn't pay for it.
You're right. We all went out to lunch.
He said he took me out to lunch.
It was for men.
I'm like, hold on. I don't remember you paying for it, but praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
You still owe me.
I do. I got you.
No. I mean, you told me what you were doing, and then, like a friend does. I was like, I support you, and I didn't know what I was saying.
Yeah.
I was just like, I support you, bro. And then
I thought that too. I was like, I don't think I explained it well.
No. And I think that's that. But you know what that is? That's called blind trust.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, hey, bro, I've been down with you.
Yeah.
Up until this point. So whatever it is,
right.
I support it.
Yeah.
Hope I don't regret my decision later. And I just think that this is a good thing. I pray that this is not your last book. I think this is just, your first. I definitely think that you have an anointing to help people that are dealing with pain that they've been carrying for a long time.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is, you've said it so many times in the book that, this was just the beginning. This was just the start.
Yeah.
So I think that this is just the start for you. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
And how has sharing your truth helped you break the silence for others that may still be suffering in silence?
It's like I said, I can't say it enough, but it's just the freedom. It's just the freedom. My goal now is to literally help people. Like like you mentioned it earlier, the calling. I knew this was a calling. I knew instantly. I told my wife, I said, once this book comes out, nothing will ever be the same. And I'm not just talking about people knowing my life. I'm talking about what God has for me. I'm like, the things that he's shown me, the places that I'm going to go, the people that I'm going to heal. I'm going to take literally people from their hurt to their heal. And so that is the beautiful part about it. And with April being such an important month for me now, I found
April.
I found meaning.
Every April, you're going to be on fire.
I found meaning.
That's good.
Like, I found meaning. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, I want to throw events. I want to have panels. I want to have.
If you need a DJ, I know a guy.
Yeah, I know one too. He's amazing. He's a Stellar Award winner. Somebody.
I know a guy.
Yeah, and it just lit a fire under me, man. And I'm so excited because, like I said, I thought I knew what I was supposed to be doing on this earth, but I didn't realize my purpose until I wrote that book.
2 important days in your life: the day you're born and the day you understand why.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that you're definitely there.
Yeah.
I'm proud to call you my oos.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And again, I just pray that somebody who's watching just makes the decision, not to suffer in silence. find a trusted ear, find a good listener.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people are not
yeah.
good listeners. Some people
Absolutely.
just listen to respond.
Absolutely.
But some people listen to actually,
Cool. Yeah.
understand. And I think if you can find
That's good.
a really, really, really good listener,
Mm-hmm.
I think that your life can and will change
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there was one more thing that I wanted to ask you about the book. And I don't want to leave before I do it. It wasn't the kids. Shouts to Janice. Janice is a
Yeah.
star. She's a star in the whole book. I mean,
She is. She actually wrote the foreword, I believe.
Yeah,
she
she wrote an amazing foreword,
She did.
and she was responsible for a lot of surprises.
Ooh.
I do believe this book is a movie, but there was one more thing I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How's your sister?
She's amazing. She's
Yeah.
amazing. You know, she is another one of the people who really inspires me. She's been through a lot, and she overcame it. You know, not a lot of people can overcome, being 80% burned, in and out the hospital for 6 months at Duke Burnt Unit, and still thriving. People didn't say she was gonna live past a year after that, and she's been here since I've been here, so she's good.
Yes.
That's my heart. I love all my siblings. I make that very clear, but she's very special.
Yeah, no.
She's
It's
very
okay. You
special.
can have your favorites.
Yeah.
It's okay. We all do.
she's
We all
very
do.
special.
All right. So listen, we don't like to leave without giving an inspirational word. This was completely different than what we usually do.
Okay.
But I still want to give you that responsibility. I know
Okay.
God has put something in your heart, so
Yeah.
I would love to hear it.
Let's see. Trust the process. Trust God. Even when it looks bad, even when it feels bad, it's amazing how God can take the bad and turn it into your good. He can take the hurt and turn it into your heal. Through this process, I found who I was. And that was the most beautiful thing about it. I often said, I wasn't living until April 4th when this book came out. Now I feel like I'm living. I had this freedom. I had this purpose, this new fire that's lit under me. I just want to encourage anybody who is going through or who have overcome that you too can get through it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been through a lot in my life, and I think you mentioned something that was really good earlier. You didn't feel like you knew who I was until you read this book.
I know who you are now.
And you know
There's layers. There's layers to this.
The way you said it, made
No,
it sound
I just it's the truth. I didn't know before, but now I know,
Yeah.
and there's more empathy there.
Yeah.
There's more compassion there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you shared this, because I could only imagine what it's like for somebody not to know. And don't get it twisted. I don't think everybody needs to know, your pain, because everybody doesn't know how to process it or how to deal with it. But you have to understand that the people who love you most, they want to be there for you.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great opportunity for you, because there's going to be some people who read this and it's going to make them feel some type of way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they might still not want to share
Absolutely.
what's going on through.
Yeah.
And they're looking at you like, well, he's free
Yeah.
and I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't
Like
know.
that. Exactly.
And they're folding their arms and they're like,
mhm.
I don't know how I feel about that, because you may not be surrounded by a community that is ready to embrace you.
Yeah.
So we're going to pray for them,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we're going to celebrate your freedom, bro.
Man, I'm telling you, it's an amazing place, and that's what I'm here for, to get people to their freedom, man. Even if it's not similar to what I went through, we've all gone through stuff, and it's time that we live as our authentic selves. And that's what I want everybody to do. Live as your authentic self. Once you do that, God can then open up the door for you to get to your purpose.
And that's what I wanted to say to you.
Yeah.
What I'm realizing from your book is that your place of pain could be your place of bondage.
Yes.
And it's so dangerous, because a lot of people don't realize that.
Mhm.
And I believe that's why the enemy uses that.
Yeah.
Because as long as you have a secret
Mhm.
and you have shame,
Mhm.
that was my other big takeaway. Like, oh, he's not ashamed.
No.
Like, no. So now what happens is, again, it's
Yeah.
almost like what you said about 8 Mile.
Yeah.
When you're not ashamed of what you went through, now in the battle rap, you can't use it against me.
There's no ammunition.
There's
for
no ammunition. You
anybody.
can't, right. And
That's
now you're
it.
free.
That's it. Ain't no ammunition. Boom, boom. That's it. That's
Wow.
it. That's it.
Wow. Listen, I pray
I took
you.
my power back.
Yes, and you have it.
I took my power
You can
back.
hear it. You can actually hear that you have it. So
I have my
that
power.
I think that's the thing. That was. I'm so glad you brought that up because I didn't want to leave without saying that. Somebody needs to hear that today. That this thing that you think, that you're protecting, it's not really protecting you.
It's
because it's bondage because you haven't dealt with it.
Yeah.
I pray that this interview inspires you to get help, to get therapy, to talk to a trusted voice who can tell you, hey, let's try to process this pain because it's only, the Bible says, lay aside every weight. And that's a weight.
Yeah.
Pain is a weight.
Facts.
It just is. Trauma is a weight.
Yeah.
Depression is a weight.
Absolutely.
Like, how do we get people to understand that? Because some people think that's the rite of passage. Like this is the reason I'm allowed to still be upset. This is the reason I'm allowed to still be angry.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but don't you want another emotion?
Exactly. Yeah. Don't you want to break free from that? Yeah. I get it. People still talk about anxiety. Like, we all deal with different things. And I'm just like, when are you going to okay, you're going to let that be your crutch? Like, that's not a crutch. Like, you want to be free from that, right?
That's fighting words too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to let you know that. So if you have a friend who's, dealing with pain, don't tell them what Neiko just said because those are fighting words.
You gonna let that be your crutch?
Yeah, you're gonna let that be your crutch?
I mean, and on
don't you
want to
get healed? I mean, Jesus did say that. He was like, yo, how long you gonna stay here beside the pool?
It's on your own time.
Okay.
And that's the beautiful part. It's on your own time. And that's one of the things I want to make sure that I make very clear. Just because I did it and came out of mine, I'm not forcing anybody to do it tomorrow. It's a process. It took me some time. I just want to help people get there.
Amen.
Yeah.
And this book will definitely help you get there. It's available right now. It's on Amazon. My Hurt, Your Heal. The greater the obstacle, the greater the glory. Neiko Flowers, New York Times bestseller. I'm speaking it into existence. And congratulations, Oos. I am so proud of you.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
It's the praise.
Mix.
Down.